This will be the record 33rd time that the US will be seeing a recession, and this time it is not going to go away soon. Normally, when a country goes into recession, it is expected to recover in the next few quarters, but this time it's not going to happen. Why that? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of TFI Media Group. I'm your host Akanksha. Let us begin. As the experts say, while the recession may be moderate, it could end up lasting longer than the abbreviated 8-month contractions of 1990 to 1991 and 2001. According to the former New York Fed economist, the economy will be declining by about 2% starting in the fourth quarter and continuing through next year. Now we shall be discussing why it will be prolonged. Factor 1. The floor rate. Generally, when a nation is pushed into recession, the next step that the country's central bank takes is to reduce the interest rates. As the interest rates are reduced, the loans become cheaper and consumption expenditure in the economy starts to increase, thus leading to the multiplier effect, making the GDP grow by leaps and bounds. But wait, the US Fed rates are already touching the floor rate, as it was in the range of 1.5% to 1.75% in June. As for the balance and interest rate flow is the lowest possible rate a lending produce can fall to over the life of the loan. It simply means that if the central bank reduces the interest rate further, it cannot lead to an increase in consumer demand as the interest rates are already meager. People are not just interested in taking more loans. Factor 2. The rising supply side inflation. There are mainly two types of inflation: demand side inflation and supply side inflation. When the aggregate demand exceeds that of aggregate supply, the inflation caused is demand side inflation and the opposite is supply side inflation. When the economy is facing demand-side inflation, then the monetary tools like reducing the interest rates work, but when the economy faces supply-side constraints, as the US does, it doesn't respond to rate cuts. If we talk about the supply-side issues, these are issues in labor markets. For example, shortages have become the norm, leading to cancelled flights, disrupted supply chains, restaurant closures, and challenges to healthcare delivery. So what we mean is that the rate cuts would not work in the US, so the GDP would not rise as required. The points mentioned above lead us to the same thought that the US recession is here to stay for a very long time. As we have already said in our previous articles, the United States has entered a recession under Joe Biden's leadership. Under his leadership, inflation has risen, making it increasingly difficult for regular Americans to purchase necessities on grocery store shelves. The problems faced by the poorest Americans are being made worse by rising commodity prices. While the situation of those who are homeless is indescribable, because of Joe Biden's presidency, their situation is far worse. Moreover, today the US is about 2 million housing units short of what our demographic profile would suggest at this point, said Doug Duncan, chief economist at Fannie Mae. That puts a floor to some degree under how big a recession could be. Homelessness, joblessness, and uncontrolled inflation will make the life of an American citizen hell. So we can say the US awaits a deadly long and painful inflation, and the US government must collaborate with the Fed and take appropriate steps to reduce the loss expected.